2 games left in the regular season. We've got your Preds preview. Can Utah get it done in Nashville? We'll talk about it on today's Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and we're coming to you here with only 2 games left in the NHL regular season for the Utah Hockey Club. Nashville Monday, St. Louis Tuesday, and Robyn, I'm going to hold my tears back, but it's going to be an emotional couple of games here for the Utah Hockey Club.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're at the point in which we're really wrapping up the inaugural season. So many highs and so many lows, and and for us to us to say farewell on watching this team on the ice, but not farewell for us on this show, because we'll still have a lot of content coming.
Oh my goodness, we're going to be busy. Absolutely busy. We're planning on covering the Tucson Roadrunners playoff charge. We're going to talk about all the offseason stuff going up with the big club as well. And there's other things happening in and around the Utah hockey community. So trust me. And we're going to keep you posted on the NHL playoffs as well, because I'm sure there are folks who will be interested. All that sits in front of us. Big agenda here. First of all, the game at Nashville. Can they beat the Predators on the road? And it's one that I'm looking forward to, because I think Nashville on paper should be better. On the ice, they have not been better this year. So I'd love to see Utah coming in, playing well, keeping the offense going, especially with Clayton Keller chasing a potential career high in points.
Yeah, right. We're at that point in the season, seeing all that. Not to mention too, with Nashville coming up, even though Nashville hasn't been playing well, Tom, I think it's still worth mentioning that, quote, Smashville has always been a tough place to play.
Yeah, I remember when we rebranded it Smashville, and that did take off. That was before the yellow jerseys. They're gold, by the way, but no, they're yellow. Man, I remember going through that whole thing, and when they decided, really through corporate branding, we were going to say it's a tough place to play, but the thing was, the fans bought into it. Mm-hmm. And Robyn, it became a tough place to play. Like, the fans got obnoxious and noisy and loud and proud, and they all wear their yellow, and everybody gets behind that team. It's a tough barn to go into. It's one of the smaller ones in the NHL, believe it or not. And it feels like everybody's on top of you. It's right there in the middle of everything that's going on. So some teams choose not to stay very close to the arena, because the arena is right on Broadway. They don't necessarily want their players out enjoying Broadway either. And that's another temptation you have to resist. We used to joke, Robyn, that our home ice advantage was really Broadway, because of all the bars and the entertainment that was there. That was probably getting us 4, 6, 8 points at home a year, because other teams like to come in and enjoy themselves.
I mean, it's party central, right? It was funny. Like, I've talked to so many people. Like, one of the things I love to do during my day job, as I'm in either ones I either have had or have currently. So either being a bartender or a barista, I talk to people and I'm like, hey, what are you up to this weekend? And someone's like, oh, I'm going to Nashville. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, it's a bachelorette party. I'm like, why am I not? Why do they have to ask? Like, I should have known that already. You're going to the party. Like,
Robyn, I used to have a condo in downtown Nashville, and I mean, the woo girls were out 24/7. You could hear the yeehaws coming out of everywhere, echoing up the concrete canyons. Yeah, I firsthand can tell you that is absolutely how they roll. So, but you know what? It's funny. You get used to it. Eventually, it soothes you to sleep.
I like that. I mean, I guess that makes sense. If you live in a certain place for long enough, like you actually miss those sounds.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that city core had a unique sound of its own. It really did. If you just opened the sliding glass door on the patio, if you were downtown living like I was, and you could just listen, like Nashville had its own hum, which included a lot of music. It included, as I say, the yeehaws and the woohoos and, all that stuff going on. And it had this noise to it and a swell, and it was just something you got used to and enjoyed. I think I loved it. I really did enjoy it. And who knows?
And that's one thing, Tom, I will say that could very well spell trouble for a visiting NHL team, especially at the end of a season when there's not a whole lot on the line. So maybe they just let themselves loose a little bit more, and then all of a sudden they get caught off guard come game time.
So, Robyn, that's an interesting point because they're ending with 3 on the road. So traditionally, NHL teams travel this way. So they played in Dallas Saturday night. They would have hopped on the charter from Dallas to Nashville, which is a very short flight, and they would have gotten into Nashville in time to hit closing time if they wanted to go back out on a Saturday night. So they could have, and then they could have been out on Sunday as well. Now you've got a Monday game, and some guys may have been going pretty hard. I don't know. I don't know the personalities on the team as well to know who would and who would not do that. I can tell you it's not anywhere near like it used to be 20 years ago with guys. Like now everybody takes much better care of their bodies, and that is infrequent. But if you're going out, that's one of the cities to do it, right? Vegas, Nashville.
Yeah. I mean, we're also talking about a team, Utah, who has consistently played, Shabuzi's tipsy in their locker room after a win.
Yeah. I mean, hey, everybody gets a different win song. I mean, it happens for one reason or another, but you're right. So I don't know. We'll see how energetic, how rested they are for this game against the Preds. And Nashville coming into this one, as I mentioned, here's the thing. Nashville's playing for pride right now and jobs. At this point, Nashville is third from the bottom in the conference. They have 66 points. Utah's at 87. So there's a huge gap there. Honestly, I feel like Andrew Brunett's got to be coaching for his job. I like Andrew Brunette. I like him a lot. Great guy. I think he's a good coach. I think he got a raw deal this year. However, someone's going to have to be a scapegoat. And I have honestly, I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't think he can do anything to save his job at this point. But there's a lot of guilt around that Nashville locker room. And when guys are playing guilty, that's when you see some performances come up a little bit. So, but then again, maybe some Utah players will play guilty because they were out on Sunday. You know what I mean? So it should be really interesting. And the other thing is, Robyn, is then it'll go back to back, right? Monday, Nashville, Tuesday, St. Louis. That's not an easy flip either. So you really have to manage yourself to get through these next couple of games and into the summer, unfortunately, for Utah.
Yeah, road back-to-back certainly are an extra battle, especially. I mean, if a quick flight from Nashville to St. Louis is basically nothing, but there's still the whole extra, just the travel, the checking into a hotel, all the other things. So, but I will say, these are the final 2 games of the season. Maybe there's a whole different level of motivation going on, and seeing where these players are at.
Absolutely. Again, some of these guys, both teams, playing for contracts, playing for maybe a career in some cases. It might be this or Swedish Elite League, or American Hockey League. You never know. So we'll see how that's all going to pan itself out. I want to talk more about Clayton Keller in the year he's having, on track, or at least could potentially reach a career high in points. He's having himself a heck of a year. And who else is kind of finishing with the hot hand right now? So Robyn and I'll get into that here in just a moment. And today's show is brought to you in part by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. You can find the right talent with Upwork. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. And it's free and simple to post a job. And within a day, you'll get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño. Hey, thanks for making us your first listen every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. We appreciate that. So while you're here, might as well subscribe, right? Click that subscription, and wherever you get your podcasts, we are available, whatever your platform of choice is, or, of course, here on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, please click the thumbs up as well. Helps us out with the algorithm. We very much appreciate it. And Robyn and I looking forward to continued growth of the show, even through the summer, as Robyn alluded to. Robyn, we have some fun things to get to, some deep dives, some lighter material. We have a lot of things planned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I always love going through. People loved hearing what we had to say about player grades, of coaching grades, all those kind of aspects. Other deep dives, prospect analysis for the upcoming entry draft. Free agency targets when that hits. Like, there's so many different things that happen. Plus, also things to look forward to and what to pay attention for the next season as well.
I think if everybody, if your team doesn't make the playoffs, everybody gets an F. There you go. So everybody, you were horrible. You weren't good enough. Didn't make the playoffs. Okay, one guy who might find a way to earn himself an A when we get around to grading players. And I'm not an easy grader. I'm telling you right now, I'm tough. Clayton Keller, chasing a career high in points. And you and I kind of looked this up before the show, and you were telling me, Robyn, you were thinking back to the season where Keller actually did come back and kind of set the world on fire there, was coming back from a big-time injury.
Yeah, it was funny because the season prior to Clayton Keller's career high, that was the year, for those that have been following him for a decent amount of time, know that he broke his tibia and fibula. Essentially shattered his leg. What they call, like, the Joe Theismann injury. It was bad. But he came back and actually recovered by the time the season started to play a full 82 game season and got a career high of 86 points. And to make things interesting, Tom, 79 games in, Clayton Keller is currently at 85 points.
So 2 games left to get a couple of points. Doable, yes. Absolutely doable. Boy, oh boy, that's interesting. Could do it in Dallas. Or do we see St. Louis Keller set a personal best against the Blues?
I mean, that just seems like fate.
Kind of does. Point. I kind of feel like, that story almost writes itself. Or maybe that's where he gets to 90 points for the season, because he's going to blow up over the next 2 games here and pick up some big time multiple point efforts. I really appreciate, in a year where it's been a pretty difficult transition for everybody involved, that Keller has continued to perform at such a high level.
Oh yeah.
And, named captain, obviously a leader on and off the ice, certainly leading in the goal and assist column. You love seeing someone who puts up points like that also be so popular in the community. So I really think, I don't want to call it pressure, but it's, you could easily put pressure on yourself in that situation and say, boy, I feel like I have a lot to live up to here. But I mean, kudos to Keller for still performing night in and night out.
Absolutely. And I feel like what helps is Clayton Keller. And you can say this about a lot of other players out there. Like, yeah, you talked about, transitioning from one city to another, especially when it's the entire team going through it. It can still be tough, right? Because you're having to figure a whole new routine of where places to go for, for whatever, right? Just because it's a whole, everything gets thrown out of balance. But from my understanding, like Utah and Clayton Keller said, hey, it's pretty much like home to me. I feel at home when I'm here, and I feel comfortable, and I feel like I can continue to grow here. And I feel like that mindset is I think what helped him, right? Didn't have to worry too much about the stress of the transition when he just felt right at home.
Yeah, and that's been fantastic to see from Clayton Keller. And it's not easy, although I will say, in certain walks of life, you get used to moving around a little bit more, and I think hockey's one of them. Professional athletes, even if you play for one team in your pro career, hey, coming up, you might have played for another in the minors or in college or in junior. You might have had to move around a couple times in junior. It happens. So,
right.
That's something I suppose you get used to. But hopefully we will see Clayton Keller posting that career high in points before the end of the regular season. So, Robyn, I want to get back talking about Nashville before we head off into the talking about the American Hockey League and the Tucson Roadrunners.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville, much better at home. They're 2 games over 500. Again, you said it's a tough building to play in, and you're right, before we started talking about Woo Girls. And they also have the ability to do some line matching here. They have some serious offensive talent. Utah is coming in off a big win over Dallas. Special teams was key in that one. I kind of feel like because of the weapons on both sides, this could really come down to being a special teams battle.
It really could. And if Utah can bring out that the pretty much near perfection on special teams they had against Dallas, which was amazing because it's Dallas, right? The Dallas Stars, they are a phenomenal team. If they can even come close to replicating that, I feel like Utah should ideally have their way with Nashville.
It's nice to see the power play clicking towards the end of the year. And I mean, your best penalty killer's got to be your goaltender. And I mean, Veg down the stretch has been ridiculous.
Right. Yeah.
I still wonder if the guy's going to get a night off or not.
He won't.
At this point, even on back-to-backs, you play them both.
Nah, at this point, I just see him finishing off the season. Man,
that kills me. But whatever. Again, I'm not the coach. Everybody knows my feelings on this. The everydayers know exactly how I feel about this topic we have discussed. We will continue to discuss.
Oh yeah, we'll continue to discuss it. I've admitted defeat in calling for the break. I know it's not going to happen. So
yeah. Well, there's only 2 games left anyway. Just the only thing I want is for no one to get hurt at this point.
Yeah.
Please just get into the offseason healthy. That's really what I want to see. So that, and it'd be nice if Keller got his point. So, all right, Robyn, let's get into talking about the American Hockey League, the Tucson Roadrunners. Real quick before we'll save our picks and prognostications for this national game to the end of the show. Let's go ahead and get into some AHL playoff talk.
And today's episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has about 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to keep you feeling fuller longer. You can either go no shells or shells. I like them both. It really depends. I really love when it does have the shells. I love the saltiness and just the satisfying feeling of breaking open those shells. But if I'm on a long road trip or trying to, working on something that requires like pretty close amount of attention, sometimes that can get distracting. And that's where the no shells variety comes into place, because it allows me just to kind of just to go ahead and just snack on them, not have to worry about too much. And just really for me to get that quick protein boost. It's a really nice thing to have when I'm going through all that. Again, especially on the road trips. I cannot say speak highly more of these no-shells when I'm on my road trips. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. And today's episode is also brought to you by Post District. Discover Post District, home to 4 of Salt Lake's newest and most stylish apartment buildings: the Register, Post House North, Post House South, and 801 Flats. Each residence offers its own unique take on luxury urban living, with features like waterfall kitchen islands, floor-to-ceiling windows, vaulted ceilings, and spacious patios, as well as walk-in closets. Enjoy premium amenities, including the city's largest residential gym, a year-round pool, golf simulator, and massive TV wall for sports watch parties, and of course, a little bit more as well, all anchored by a one-of-a-kind community. Step outside and find yourself immersed in Salt Lake's hottest dining and nightlife scene, with award-winning spots like Urban Hill, Mencho Ramen, Level Crossing, Melancholy Wine Bar, and Sunday's Best, just steps away. Whether you're looking for a studio, 1, 2, 3-bedroom, or a penthouse, find your perfect home today. Visit liveatpost.com or call 801-590-6247. Mention this ad for an exclusive incentive.
Tom Callahan and Robyn Leaño here, back with you on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Robyn, I can tell you, by the way, that condo I lived in downtown Nashville had floor-to-ceiling windows. It's amazing to live in a place that has that. It's really cool. So
I had a
check that out.
Tucson that had that too, and it was like it's an amazing feeling. It really is.
It's bright, it's open, it's airy. It just makes you feel good about being there. So I am big on that. So hey, speaking of Tucson. Downtown Tucson is where the Roadrunners play. Nice segue, Robyn.
Hey.
I appreciate that. So let's take a look at what's going on with the AHL Roadrunners, the kiddies down on the farm, and where are we right now in this American Hockey League? We're not to the playoffs yet, but we're almost to the playoffs.
We're almost there, Tom. Right now, as it looks like, the Tucson Roadrunners have 2 games left in the regular season. So we're right up there as well, as well as Utah, except AHL games are on the weekend, so we won't find out what happens to them until this weekend. They still have about their magic number at 4, so they're kind of close. They haven't clinched a playoff spot yet. That's the only playoff spot in the Pacific Division, and actually the only playoff spot in the Pacific Division that is still technically up for grabs right now. Bakersfield really being trying to look down here. Yeah, Bakersfield being the only team that potentially could overpass Tucson, but right now Tucson still does hold the final spot in the Pacific Division right now. And if the playoffs started today, you can see with a little graphic up here, the Tucson Roadrunners would go up against the Abbotsford Canucks in the first round, which is in the best of 3, before going to the next round division semifinals up against the Colorado Eagles. And Tom, I know you're probably thinking, I know everyone else is probably thinking, looking at this bracket that you see up here, you're like, what in the absolute craziness is going on here? Why does it look like this?
Why does the Pacific have so many games, Robyn?
And I will tell you, I actually started with a little bit of interesting history here. Maybe you were not following the AHL at the time, but in 2021, the AHL decided not to have a Calder Cup playoffs due to the still kind of evolving situation around the COVID-19 pandemic. But because the Pacific Division was pretty large and didn't require a whole lot of travel, they decided to have their own little bubble playoff system in like Anaheim or the Irvine area. And I think it's split between Irvine and actually Henderson. But they had it. And the entire Pacific Division had their own playoff. They didn't call it Calder Cup. They just called it AHL Pacific Division playoffs to kind of decide who was going to be the division champion. And what we're seeing now is essentially a carryover from that. Your top 7 teams make it into a which is essentially a 3-round playoff before they get to the rest of it here. And that's why 7 teams come from the Pacific Division, and the rest you see are pretty similar, except for the Atlantic, which has an extra team. But other than that, it's like the Pacific Division is just so awkward.
Well, and it's so big too. I mean, it's the biggest division in the league, and that's a reason for it. And again, we've talked about the history here before, and folks who have been listening for a long time, or maybe you're an American Hockey League fan and when the West was formed initially, those teams just threatened to go off and play by themselves and just not play in the American Hockey League altogether. So they got a bunch of concessions out of the American Hockey League and then formed a Western division. Which has continued to grow because, quite frankly, Robyn, it's easier for teams out west. Like, look at the Barracuda. Their costs are minimal. Everybody's in town. Henderson to Vegas, cross town. That is a super easy thing to do. It's one of the reasons why Calgary left Stockton, California, and pulled their team up into Canada just for the ease of getting to their players.
And in a much similar fashion, the Vancouver Canucks essentially bought out the Utica Comet to bring them on over to Abbotsford to become the Abbotsford Canucks. But we're seeing more of that now because these teams just want to minimize those costs, and because in the AHL, like travel costs can get pretty high, and
even into the year. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I understand, and they don't want to worry about stuff like that. So, and when you have a really large Pacific Division with so many teams, what we end up seeing is essentially they just charter bus most of the time because example, especially here in the Southwest, Tucson, Henderson, San Diego, and Ontario, and Bakersfield, all within like driving distance. Like those are not games that these teams fly to. They take the bus.
Yeah, a couple of times at Tucson, or what we did is flew into a central location and then took a bus. So there were 2 ways to kind of go about it. But speaking of a bus, up until even the early 2000s, the American Hockey League was mostly a bus league. So when the old IHL was still kicking, they flew everywhere because they were quadruple A essentially, and their teams were far more spread out. But the American Hockey League was always compact Northeast. Then once the I folded and was partially absorbed by the American Hockey League, everything else just kind of worked itself out. Like a bunch of leagues kind of went away in that era, late 90s, early 2000s. You lost the West Coast Hockey League. You lost the Western Professional Hockey League. Eventually you lost the United Hockey League. You lost the Central Hockey League. The SPHL was born. But a lot of those geographical inequities resulted in now a North American wide AHL, a North American wide ECHL, which used to stand for East Coast Hockey League, but now it is bi-coastal. So that's kind of the way the growth of the game has gone, and that's why there's all this shenanigans in the West. But you know what the best part of it is, though, is right now Tucson is number 7, and so they're going to get in. They're going to get some playoff experience, and who knows if you get a goalie to get in and steal you a game, or if you get a guy who comes down and heats up, or just somebody picks it up at the right time, they can get you through a very short series.
And I will say, if you guys want to understand a clinching scenario here, like I said, Bakersfield is the only team that has a possibility of making it in. They have to be perfect down the stretch here, essentially. Bakersfield needs to be 7 points. Tucson just needs 4, but can be assisted by, as an example, let's say Bakersfield lost to Abbotsford on Wednesday, which would lower that number for Tucson down to 2.
Which, I mean, hopefully they're able to take care of business on their own and not need the help. But, hey, Roadrunners, get in there, get a couple of wins for yourself. And
Roadrunners finished the season against the Colorado Eagles, who are currently the division leader. It's gonna be a tough one. Yeah. Although it is a home, it is a home match here. It is the home finale. I probably will reach out, Tom, and get maybe get down there to cover the games.
That'd be great. I would look forward to your live reporting. Seeing you at the old TCC down there. That would bring back some memories for me as well. So, well, Robyn, if you get down there, let us know, right? I mean, you'll be able to tell us on the social media accounts.
Of course.
So make sure you're following those accounts. Robyn, where are they going to find your AHL Calder Cup playoff coverage?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us on, you can find the podcast. You can follow that. We'll probably post some stuff there at @LO_NHL Utah on X. I will be probably posting a lot of the stuff on my personal profile on X / Twitter. That's at Robyn with a Y _LEANO.
And I'm at Tom Talks on Blue Sky and at Callahan on Air on Twitter. And Robyn, before we step out, ta-da! Let's take a look at the betting lines. Nashville, Monday. You're listening to the show on a Monday, playing the Preds on the road tonight. Utah HC -137 on the money line. Nashville's +114. Over under at 6.5. Robyn, what opportunities are you feeling here?
To me, I am thinking in my head, taking a look at the goaltenders between the teams and understanding where we are there. I would probably maybe go back to a parlay just to have some fun because it's gonna add some good value. Take Utah on the money line in this, but I'm taking the under. I don't see this game going over 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little surprised it was set at 6.5, to be honest with you. That was a little bit of a shocker to me. Do you pick up Clayton Keller for an anytime goal scorer or anytime points? What do you think on that?
And adding Keller anytime point could be worth it. Anytime goal scorer could it's the easy. I mean, it's to add extra value, and it's pretty lofty. I wouldn't say lofty, but it adds more risk to a bet. Anytime point though. Sure.
Definitely. I mean, we're constructing a parlay here, so we want to be able to win.
Yeah.
So, and Robyn will chain together 16 different bets and somehow come out on top. I have no idea how you do that, but kudos to you. That's crazy. You come up with scenarios where I'm like, I wouldn't have even thought of that. So
they're tough. They definitely are tough. It takes a lot of research. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it does. So that's, but hey, it feels great when it hits, right?
Oh, best feeling in the world.
Yeah. See, there you go. Absolutely fantastic. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for tuning us in here. We appreciate you being a part of the podcast. As always, like, subscribe. If you really like it, please tell your friends. Have them give us a chance to learn and grow and talk about this Utah Hockey Club. So again, 2 games left in the regular season. Monday, Nashville. Tuesday, St. Louis. We're going to be with you every single day this week, breaking it down as we reach the end of year 1 on the ice for the Utah Hockey Club. So for Robyn, I'm Tom. Thanks for being a part of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.